Hello and welcome to the Sound Dance Festival Artist Talks. My name is Beatrix Joyce. I'm a performance artist and dance writer based in Berlin. And today I am joined by Daniele Ninarello and Dan Kinzelman, who are the artists of the piece KUDOKU. So would you please introduce yourselves briefly, maybe? We could start with you, Daniele.
Yeah. Then hi everybody. My name is Daniele Ninarello, and I come from Turin, which is in the north of Italy. In the moment, I'm actually in Bologna, so it's still in the north, but and I'm working in a residency in a theater. So we're trying to start again and get to work.
And you're the choreographer.
Basically I'm a dancer and a choreographer, and in this piece I take care about choreography and dance as well, so it's
great. And you, Dan? Oh, he's moving.
Dan is what?
Sorry, I muted myself because there's some noise here. So my name's Dan Kinzelman. I was born and raised in the U.S., but I've been living in Italy for about 15 years now. And I guess I have a background in jazz music. I play saxophone, that's my main instrument, but I play a lot of instruments as well. And this is my first experience doing any kind of serious work with somebody that uses another kind of artistic language. It's been a really interesting experience for me. And we started this in 2016, right, Daniele?
I mean, we started in
so this has been,
and then the piece came out.
Correspondence, yeah. So it's been an interesting opportunity for me to get to know something like a small amount about a field that I knew absolutely nothing before. And also we've been able to continue that over the past several years with other projects. So I'm very happy to be here.
Great. Well, that actually kind of already goes into my first question, as Sound Dance Festival is really a meeting of minds, and musicians and dancers coming together to collaborate. I initially just wanted to ask you guys how you met and how the process started, but you kind of already answered that a little bit. So I'm wondering, perhaps, how do you view your collaborative relationship, and what is it that you're working on when you work together?
How do we want to organize this? Should we take turns answering the things, or just kind of?
Yeah, sure. Like, just step in when you feel like you have something you'd like to offer.
Okay. You want to start, Daniele?
Yeah, I just would say that actually, in the very beginning, we were invited by an Italian curator. Help me, Dan.
Enrico Bettinello.
Enrico Bettinello, and which is living in Venice. And together with this festival, which is called Novara Jazz Festival. So it's actually, their proposition was to create this meeting between a choreographer and a jazz musician. And then, we actually started to just write emails and send letters or just images, or me and Dan, actually, we started to work some months before meeting physically. So in that way, we actually had the opportunity to kind of make an archive of, I don't know, a lot of, to connect our minds already in a distance. And then I remember we actually met the first time in Bassano del Grappa, where we actually went to start this production. And there we had like a first residency of like 7 days. And it was quite surprising for me, I guess, and also for Dan, I guess, to see how in a week, actually, all the material that we actually still have today in the piece were already born. So that was a great starting point, and it was a great meeting. I remember it was January. It's a long time ago, actually. No, it was January.
It was interesting for me. I think one of the things that was really interested in when I accepted this, the proposition of Enrico Bettinello, was the idea of, I felt like it was a point in my career where I needed really to find some kind of new stimulus, some like new energy. You know, I was really happy with the things I was doing, but I was also feeling kind of stuck in a little bit of a rut. And so this was something that I was really excited about because of the fact that I expected to have to try some new techniques and maybe have a chance to kind of also to start from scratch, you know, like start with a clean slate. And Daniele kind of started that off right away with this idea of like trading emails about the concepts that we were working on and thinking about in our own work individually. And it ended up turning out that a lot of those there was a lot of things shared. So we started with emails where we'd write each other just keywords and you know, concepts that we were thinking about or that were important to us. And we already found like quite a number of those that were that coincided. So I think there was this, for me, I would say one thing that I like about working with Daniele is also this feeling of like, sometimes it's not easy to see who's guiding and who's following, because it feels like there's this idea of walking kind of parallel. Each of us is free to use our own methods or kind of rhythm to complete the journey, but we know where we're going together. And I think that I feel like that connects back to even our first correspondence via email.
Yeah.
Great. And what I found quite, because I watched the piece and I found it quite intriguing how it was like you were so connected in what you were doing. And I was wondering, like, in what way you actually working with improvisation? Do you also work with scores? Like, is it kind of a mix between set material and improvised material, or is everything improvised? Like,
well, maybe I could start this one. Yeah. Daniele doesn't really like the term improvisation, or he uses it in a very careful way. So I actually love the term improvisation, but I think it would be interesting for him to share his point of view on that, because I do agree with it as well. But I'm going to leave that for him. But for me, yeah, I think I would go back to what I was saying before. There's an idea of like, we have some tasks that we have to complete during the course of the piece. And there's also kind of a general idea of a journey that I think each of us has in mind. And maybe it's not so specific in the sense that I don't know exactly what Daniele is thinking, and he maybe doesn't know exactly what I'm thinking, but we have this kind of feeling of there's like this something elastic that binds together what we do. And we're each free to do what we want within these kind of worlds that we're creating or trying to create. I guess that sounds really kind of presumptuous, but within the kind of like journey that we have, like this idea of we have to arrive at certain points together, but the way we arrive at those points changes every time we perform it. So I think that's kind of the improvisation. I feel very free to perform in a free way, because I know that there are these kind of there's a structure that's kind of going to hold everything together and that I can follow, and I know that I can trust Daniele to also be joining me or maybe leading more of me or following me. And it's always difficult to tell who's doing what at any particular time.
Well, what I can add is actually, I like the terms in improvisation in itself. It's just somehow, you know, like in dance histories or even like in music history, maybe it's a bit different, but like improvisation sounds to be like a very huge field in which, yeah, everything can happen. But then the improv is the answers to what happened. So what I actually prefer in this case is talking about instant composition. And I mean, I'm used to work with the live music or other musician in the past, since I actually started to do my own work. So for me, it's very important to go deep and analyze what is actually the difference between like a sonar body or like a physical body, and in which terms they can be they can actually name as vibration or resonance, or I mean, there's a lot of things that actually affect both of them. So a physical, visible body and a soundscape, which is not visible, but it is visible. It is an information that actually attach or create a sort of deviation in your perception.
Mm.
And with Dan, actually, I wanted to go deep into this kind of relation, which means if I'm not the leader and you're not the leader, it means that what is leading us is our care and our listen towards the space we are creating and the world we are creating. And it's also a way to pay attention to what is making us alive, which is not me. And this, for me, it's also at the base of a ritual practice or a spiritual way of conceiving art or probably movement or music. Because for the very beginning, what I felt with Dan and his way of playing music, it was that this sort of derivation that I was kind of rising out from his music, and then I also felt that this music was rising out from my movement, but
Right.
this happened.
Yeah.
Could I jump in on this? I wanted to. It's interesting because while he was, sorry, Daniele, if I'm interrupting you, but I wanted to like reinforce what you were saying because I feel sometimes like I play Daniele, like I've like part of this for me has been learning how to play Daniele, and I think also learning how to be played by Daniele. But again, it's like there's this third element, which is the thing that's happening, and I don't necessarily feel like either of us is directing that in a specific way. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but I do agree with this idea that like that you're learning how to be moved by me, and I'm learning how the things that I do move you, and also how the things that you do move me. And I think that's been like a really special thing for me about the collaboration with you.
I think it's kind of we could actually say that, I don't know, for me actually this is the meaning of love, which is actually really hard to experience in life every day. But like if both of us look at what we are creating together instead of just taking care about how do we feel and if we are happy or no with that, then it's a completely different focus. And in this piece, it's actually what we say is if I'm brave enough to get out of this body, to take care with you of the body that together we are creating, then it's a sort of surrounding and it's a sort of falling.
Yes.
And that's what love makes.
Yeah, I think to just link into what you said earlier about how Daniele feels that he also emerges out of the music. I find that a very quite relevant description in a way, because when I watch the piece, the first 8 minutes are pretty much in darkness, right? So you can kind of hear the music and you're experiencing the music, and then at some point this figure kind of emerges. And so I was wondering, like in what way you're actually working with light also, firstly, because I have another question also. So like firstly, in what way are you working with light as well as another kind of sensory input, let's say? Is it something you added later on, or is it something that you were working with from the beginning? And also secondly, this idea of ritual, or this kind of moment of like this is a kind of like an enigmatic moment, which I experience very much in kind of also in the spirals and the loops, and this kind of circular dynamic that you had. I'm wondering, does that also play into that idea of ritual? Are you working with these repetitions as a way to achieve a certain mind state or a certain stance, let's say? Yeah. How do you feel about those elements within your work?
Well, I'll start talking about the light, right? Well, actually, okay, I try to answer, and maybe I will mix all those fields together to give a kind of a answer. I remember in the beginning we were sharing a lot of videos and materials or text about different rituals in different cultures, and I guess that we need to say that kudoku, it's a word that comes from East Buddhist religion, and it actually means benefit. Yeah, benefit the word to actually how you can purify or clean your senses, and which kind of practice we can invent maybe today, what kind of practice we need today to maybe not feel the same, but kind of get close to what an ancient man was trying in the in a kind of elevated moment spiritually, I guess. So we went to actually search and research a lot of rituals from Sufi to Taranta, which is an Italian very old ritual. And we actually, I remember we kind of discovered how no matter where are you coming from, or no matter what's your belief, or what we all actually trying to do, it's find a way to heal and to transform this poison into medicine. And that's what the starting point between the ritual. So I asked myself, and I said to myself, okay, how do my body thinks? How do my body speaks? What is the way of this body, which is okay, it's my body, but if I listen to this body, when it's free to express itself without creating a rule, but listening, discovering the rules. So then I also felt like, okay, repetition is something that helped me, of course, but repetition in evolution, it's something that actually made me stay always in the beginning of something rather than just repeat something. So, I mean, going through that, actually, those were also some information that I think that Dan also used with the music. And then considering the light, actually, I think space does not exist somehow. Space is made out of the body. And with this light, I wanted to actually just relate to this principle of actually, it's a little story. There is something like, there is a very tiny vibration somewhere far away in the darkness. And the more you get closer to this vibration, the more you get closer to light. So for me, it was also a kind of, if you see, when you see the piece, you see that actually light is the space. And you see the body that actually is creating a sort of alphabet, right? To actually, kind of clean the space, the darkness around. And I mean, I don't want to be too much literal in talking about the light, but it's really connected to, it's a sort of like a third body. Okay, there's a music, there's a movement, there's a light. So that's the way we actually thought about light. What is necessary, what is really necessary, and what's the space that this body needs to exercise this practice. And to end the answer, I would say that actually you spoke, you talk about the circularity, so this kind of a spinning, and which is actually, you see, when you will see the piece, you see that a lot of things come back, and then they develop, and then they come back again. So I actually, during the process of creation, I felt like this practice of attempt to something and then calibrate the energy of the movement to rise up together to the end was the main score to keep alive during the piece with him. Otherwise, I would have gone for myself. And a lot of this spinning or it was a challenge to me. And I was saying, if this is the light, so it's a sort of perimeter. I don't want to stay in the middle. I want to push the perimeter, and I want to enlarge that space. It's I would say for me, it's like feeling the bones that want to go out of the body. So I was using the space in the same moment, in the same way. Sorry. So I was pushing the light away, the darkness away, and I was, and the circularity, you know, is the best way to do that.
Yeah.
Because you use the. I was trying. Okay, if this is coming from the bones, it means that my spine is a spiral, and my spine wants to get out of this body and flow away. So I need to understand the origin of this circularity is in the body. But then if I bring outside this circularity, it becomes a space. I mean, I don't know if I was clear enough, but that
Yeah.
was.
And you, Dan, would you agree with these sentiments of
Yeah, well,
circularity?
yeah, I wanted to jump in. I guess a lot of the things I think that you know, the idea of how to start the piece was that I think that was Daniele had this intuition, and it was something where I, you know, like thinking back on it, it was like I was really the method of work, the method kind of like the practice of like research that we employed. That was, you know, I was really kind of placed myself in the position of like kind of a student, like or an apprentice. Like I was learning about this from Daniele, you know, because it's very different from the way I was accustomed to working. So that was something where a lot of it is, I think he was speaking about, you know, experiences that help him also to perform the dance and things. I thought, I think it was pretty courageous for him to say, because actually, let me take a step back. First of all, the video that you see, because it's a movie camera or a video camera, and because the dynamic range is a little bit of a problem with low light, the light actually comes in probably a minute or two before you can actually see it in the video. So there are some things that it's not quite 8 minutes usually. It's more like 5 to 6 minutes. But I think for me that experience is something where like it's this kind of moment where we kind of erase everything and try to find this connection between us. That's the way it feels for me, and I think that's the way that Danielle and I also talk about it to each other. It's like this idea, like, okay, now we have this. We take away the space and we take away the visual aspect of things. So we don't have this like sensory input, and we have to focus on the sound, because that's going to be the thing that helps guide us. You know, I'm guided by the sounds that are coming out because I'm not making everything in real time. I'm using a looper. So I have to create these things, but each thing is actually created each day. When we perform it, it's being created while we're doing it, but then things get recorded and repeated. So I think that's a moment when I have to learn the sound of the room and the feeling of that moment. And Daniele has to learn that as well. And we start to connect in that moment. So I think for me, it's also this idea of saying, okay, we're just going to start from zero every time, every single time, but to start from silence. And the blackness is also a form of silence for me.
Yeah. And also there is a precise, I mean, of course you will see this moment in the beginning of darkness, but of course, I mean, we actually decided to do that because in the live, in the theater, we want to start the piece bringing everybody in the same situation of contemplation. And we discovered that when it's very dark in the theater, and in that moment, then it's actually going through a practice of, I don't know, I like to think that he's actually trying to give music to his brain thoughts or brain patterns or neurological geometries in his mind. I don't know, it's kind of it starts with a very sweet and calm situation, and it becomes like a terrifying rage moment of sound. But what is more interesting is that nobody, I mean, the darkness is a place where everybody's alone. But the theater, it's also a place where you know you're not alone, but it's also a place where you can create a way of contemplate what is happening. So there's no difference between what you see. visually and what you hear. That's why
Right.
we.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing I found very strong about it, is this like sense of ambience in a way, and that it's like it creates an environment as well as it creates an experience, let's say. Yeah, I think that's all we have time for today. So I want to thank you guys. 1 second, I'll just, yeah, I want to, yeah, thank you guys for joining me today in this artist talk. And yeah, I'm hoping that you will continue working like this, and I look forward to seeing your future collaborations. Yeah.
Thank you, Beatrice.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, we are still working together, and we did also like other 2 pieces together. And I hope we keep working together too.
Okay.
Enjoy the piece, by the way. I really, yeah, everybody who is gonna be connected, I really, yeah, enjoy and let yourself.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Oh, sorry.
And enjoy.
Yeah.
Bye.